Welcome, everyone. We want to thank you for taking some time out of your day to be with us. Come on, let's get to the root of it. Ow.
In these times that we live, we take strides to move forward. We strive to be more, stay strong and be focused. Start a while, we make choices, live or die. Take over starts at the root, and the truth may be hard to swallow. Step one, self-love above anything else. Unlock peace and happiness.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, and thank you for tuning in to At the Root of It. My name is Shannon, and on tonight's show, we are going to be talking about some things. Tonight's show is about emotional immaturity, and there's so many people who actually deal with it. So when I got this show topic, I said, oh my goodness. What is God going to reveal to me about me today? Because I am the first partaker of anything that I speak about, because how can I speak about anything without first acknowledging those things within myself? A lot of times we are bogged down by things because of lack of acknowledgement, and we're not free. We're in bondage. And we're trying to figure out different ways to get out of this bondage without doing the actual work. And the first step, like many in anything that you're trying to accomplish in your life, the first step is admitting the problem. The first step is acknowledgement. The first step is knowing who you are and trying to figure that out, okay? So, before I get into the topic tonight, I do want to share the broadcast so that people will come on and see. And even if no one at all comes on tonight, I know that this message is out here, and it's always the replay on YouTube, replay on Facebook. All right. So before I get into it, let me just go on in here and start sharing this video, all right? Because it's really important. We really need to know about this stuff, okay? So I'm sharing it onto my regular page. Emotional immaturity. And some people may not even like this this actual topic due to the fact that there's so many people who don't acknowledge what they got going on in their lives, okay? So let me just send the link out real quick. I'm just sending people. Good evening, Sister Rita. Good evening. I am sharing it out now so that people will know that we are on. So please share to tag at least 3 people that you think would that will actually benefit from this show, okay? I'm sharing it all over the place. I always do that. Y'all should be used to that by now. All right. So now that that is done, now that that is taken care of, I am going to actually get into it because, like I said in the beginning of the show, that anytime God gives me a topic to speak about, I am the first partaker of it So I knew that he was going to show me something about myself, you know. So this is not a bashing show. This is not a show to make anyone feel bad, but it is to bring awareness to maybe why the relationships in our lives go the way that it goes, and why we act the way that we act, and things of that nature. And emotional immaturity is vast. It's spread throughout both men and women. Okay. Now, with men, it is called the Peter Pan syndrome. Okay. These people, they don't want to grow up. They are Toys R Us kids. Okay. They don't want to they don't want to acknowledge nothing. They don't want to take ownership of anything. They want to just live their life free. They don't want to take care of their families. They don't want to take care of nobody. They want people to take care of themselves. They want to be flat. They want to fly around and be a kid at all times. This is for men. It's called the Peter Pan syndrome. And for women, it's called the princess or the Cinderella syndrome, where you think that you're the princess. You think that you're supposed to get everything. Now, let me tell you something about that. This is where that was the first punch in the face for me, was because for so long, now remember, I've always said to you guys that for the longest, I felt like I was owed something. And now that I'm a year and I'm almost 2 years old, come June, I'll be 2 years old as an adult. Since I've become an adult and I'm learning to acknowledge my faults and acknowledge my toxic ways, I realized that that was one of them, that I had the Cinderella spirit, that I thought that things were owed to me, right? And that I deserved it when I actually didn't do anything to work for it, right? And I thought that things were just gonna magically just fall into my lap, or that things were just gonna happen out of nowhere for me. Now, don't get it confused, because miracles do happen in my life, and God does bless me even when I should be getting spanked on my hand. That's called grace. That's called mercy. Okay. But I also take the time to ask for forgiveness, especially when you don't know that you're doing it, when it's unintentional. Okay. So one of the questions is what causes extreme emotional immaturity? So granted, recoverycenters.com, they identified emotional maturity and emotional immaturity. Okay. So it says emotional maturity is linked to a person's development. Research shows that while adolescents may reason as well as adults, they often lack the same level of emotional maturity. Any number of factors may lead to emotional immaturity in adults, from lack of support in childhood, and that will go into underlying trauma. Good evening, Phoebe. How are you doing? Thank you for tuning in tonight. Okay, so it says emotional immaturity, on the other hand, is a tendency to express emotions without restraint, or disproportionately to the situation. So basically, it'll be out of order. That's that, you'll get a response from somebody where you would say, I don't think that was the right time for you to say that. That was very like you don't have any couth, that you didn't handle that situation well because you did not say the right thing for the right time. Like when you say, like, I'm just gonna, for instance, I'm glad that you are here too, Phoebe. I'm very glad that you're here. Thank you very much. I will heart you. So I'm gonna give you an example disproportionately to the situation without restraint. Okay. So say someone passes away and you say, well, at least you don't have to worry about taking care of them now. That is so disrespectful and very unfeeling. You lack empathy, and out of order. Yes, that's right. You are out of order to say that. And emotional, immature people tend to be out of order, and they don't like to be corrected when they are out of order. They like to stay in their stuff. Okay. So, what are the key characteristics for an emotionally immature person? They won't go deep. They'll stay surface. Okay. They if you even attempt to go deep, all right, they will try to change the subject or walk away, not even engage in a conversation because it's got too deep. You know what I mean? Oh, I don't want to talk about that. Whereas when we do talk about those things, it frees us. We talked about this, throughout the shows, that when we confess our sins one to another, that takes away the leverage that the enemy has over us to keep us in bondage. And pride stands in the way of us acknowledging our faults so that we stay in bondage. And even though we claim that we acknowledge our faults, it'll show in different areas where we don't. Okay. Another emotionally immature characteristic is everything is about them. Now, I used to be like that as well. It was a me type of thing, and it was because I thought that things were owed to me because of my childhood, because I didn't receive the things that my brother and my sister received. So I felt like it was my just due to act like that, to think like that, to be like that. But so out of order, right? Yes, uncouth indeed. Yes, Phoebe. Okay, they become defensive. Now, I've learned along the way that offense and defense comes out of people when truth is being spoken. When there's an underlying truth that is there, and the person is not ready to recognize, acknowledge, and change those things, then they begin to be defensive and think that you're coming at them in the wrong way. Where in all actuality, it is them that is unwilling to accept what outside people are able to see. Okay, because we see, I used to be so defensive. I used to get offended all the time. I didn't want to accept anything. Like, I didn't want to accept what people said about me. But I thank God that I'm 2 years old now and I'm able to acknowledge it and accept me for who I am. Okay. I was listening to one of the videos about emotional immaturity, and one of the mature things is to understand who you are as a person. And when God is developing you, or even when anything is being developed, okay, there is a process that you have to go through. And even with beginning to know yourself and beginning to heal from those different things, there is a process to it, okay? But the first step is admitting that you may have that problem. And what are the things you can do to help get rid of that problem? If you don't even acknowledge it, if you don't acknowledge the issue, right, it'll sit there. But you want change, right? But you're unwilling to change, and you're the key component to change in your life. We say this cliche all the time about, insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. But how many people in all actuality sit there and try to change how they handle situations on a day-to-day basis? Who sits there and actually does that? I can say that finally, I am at a place where I don't get that feeling on the inside of me when somebody is telling me about me, because there's a feeling that you feel on the inside, okay? And that's where your pride and your ego is standing up, okay? And you can feel these feelings. You can, I can act like y'all don't, but I know that I do. When somebody has offended you or made you defensive, there's this feeling that you feel, and it's like your back rising up, or it's like, what? Who are you talking to? And right then and there, communication is done. Right then and there, there's nothing that's nothing to be said or to be done after that, okay? Because their back is rose, their back has risen up, and that means their ears have closed, and now they want to fight or they want to argue, okay? So Phoebe says, when you say that you're 2 years old as an adult now, does that mean that you are 2 years into living in your healing as an adult? Yes. Yes, Phoebe. It is also that I'm 2 years in being an adult, as far as I lacked vision, I lacked drive, I lacked ambition, I lacked the understanding of how money works. I was just lacking in so many areas. And it was really time. Can you hear me? You said no more hearing is taking place? Or do you mean I'm not just a hearer now, I'm a doer? If that's the case, yes. And my pastor is on that hard right now, like to be doers of what you hear and not just hearers. So if that's what you're referring to, yes, it's no more hearing taking place. It is now about taking action and understanding that I wasn't in the headspace to mentally or spiritually or emotionally take on those things. I couldn't take on those things because I didn't have no vision. I lacked it. I lacked it. But now I am living in a healed way now. I understand my hindrances and what kept me bound so much was me. Okay. And my small mindset. I had a small mindset, but serving a great big God. And I tried to fit him in my box, and we can't fit God in any box, So I'm just really grateful now that I'm going on 2 years old. You understand what I mean? Because now I can really enjoy my life. Now I can stop being offended and looking for people to heal the hurt in me that is only my job to do. Okay? It's only my job to do. No, I can't expect, just like we can't expect anybody to love us more than we love us. Okay? In order for us to love, we must first know how to love. In order for us to be loved, just like in order for us to be a friend, we must first show ourselves friendly. So it's like, when you don't know who you are as a person and you're not even taking the time or putting in any effort to find out who you are as a person, it stunts your growth. Hence the Peter Pan syndrome, hence the Cinderella princess spirit. And we're doing that. And I just want to point this out. A lot of new parents are actually doing this to their children unbeknownst to them. They are now currently doing this, like mothers with sons who want to try to change the narrative to let people know that it's okay for boys to show their emotion. It's okay. Yes, it's okay, but there's a thin line between showing them that emotion is okay and allowing them to stay a little boy. and for you to mother them. These mama's boys turn into mama's men, okay? And they may turn into mama men women, because we don't know what type of spirit we're putting into these kids at this time. And these women out here who they're looking at all of the celebrities online, and they're seeing all of this stuff, and they want to be treated just like that. And it's like, hold on, I need you to step into reality and know that this is not everybody's reality. But all of that stuff does not necessarily make you happy. Happiness comes from the inside and works its way out. If you're not happy on the inside, none of these things that you get will make you happy. Not even the man of your dreams will make you happy if you have not done the inside work for yourself. Okay? And that is to get your emotional state together, which means that is to self-check and to know. All right, so let's see. Good evening, Tan. Just okay. I'm so happy you're here. So Phoebe said, no more hearing taking place when the person you're talking to becomes offended. That's right. Oh, no, they're not hearing you now. Now they're ready to fight. They're ready to fight because they think that you're judging them. And I know that that's the feeling because I felt it for 43 years. I felt it. I always felt like I was judged. I've always felt like I got the short end of the stick. I told you I had that princess. So I felt like, listen, this is due to me. This is owed to me. All right. So thanks. Oh, that's good, Shannon. Thank you. Okay, so Dee says, I felt that just recently where I felt a certain kind of way about something, and in the past, I would not have addressed it at all. I feel that it was actually emotional maturity that made me speak my piece instead of emotional immaturity. No, it's good that you're actually speaking up, Dee, because what emotional immaturity does is it makes you passive aggressive. So you'll stay quiet, but then do things. Not you. I'm just saying, just in general. People. Let me just say it like this, so no one online will misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not saying you. When people, when they're emotionally immature, right? They won't address the issue. They'll go roundabout. They'll say sly comments. That's that passive aggressive nature. Okay. They'll say sly remarks. They'll do things that will indicate, let me see how I'm gonna say this. They will do things that indicate that they know I'm not going to complete that thought because I don't know if that's factual. That just may be me. But it is actual emotional maturity to be able to speak how you're feeling. But remember, we learned a long time ago about crucial conversations. So when we have crucial conversations, right, and we want to address things, we have to know to season our speech with salt so that we know how to answer every man. So I was just speaking with someone. I was driving, I was working, I was riding in my taxi, and I was talking to this young lady that got into my cab, and we were driving to Amelia Island, and I was telling her how I had a daily prayer that I always say as far as how I was to answer every man. And it's in the Bible, and it's in Colossians. And it says, season my speech with salt so that I know how to answer every man. And you know what? She actually wrote it down. She said, because she really likes that I made it into a prayer. And she really likes the fact that it's helping you to address people, because, you know, it's not what you say, it's always how you say it. You can either provide people how you feel on China or on a top of a trash can lid. And that will determine how you're received. Okay. And I know that because I've been contentious my whole life. You know what I mean? And not my whole life, because I'm brand new. So I'm not contentious anymore. I actually can really hone in and really take accountability for the things that I do. So Phoebe said, I can respect that perspective. Phoebe also says, that's good. Confrontation has taken a bad rap over the years, but it's actually good and necessary. The bad comes into play only when it's done disrespectfully, I think. Yes, that's where it says, season, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You can tell somebody that I really didn't like how you address me. Just like that. Instead of saying, yo, who you looking at like that? Like, don't ever talk to me like that again. How are you going to be received? You're not going to be received as, oh, I'm sorry. Then that's going to start a whole argument, because it's like, who you talking to? I can talk to you any kind of way. I'm an adult. Blah, 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 blah. And here comes the fight. Here comes the fight. But if we were to say it, listen, I'm trying to tell you that I don't speak to you like that. So I would like for you not to speak to me like that. And then we'll be okay. Then I won't be angry. You won't be angry. See? Easy fix. But I guess in the heat of the moment, in the heat of an argument, or in the heat of voices being raised, we may say things that we don't necessarily mean, or that can be taken out of context. Context, content, whichever one, y'all know. Okay. Okay, so Phoebe said, right, exactly. Dion said, I was definitely respectful, but very direct as well. And being direct is not bad, but it is, now talking directly to my sister, it ain't about direct, it's about your facial expressions. It doesn't matter if, you can say it as sweet as pie, but if your face is like, then it ain't gonna be received. And I learned that too, because I used to be that kid that rolled her eyes and rolled my head and talked about, who you talking to? I used to be that person. I really used to be that person. So, it's just not received. Another characteristics is they have commitment issues. I think that I had a lot of commitment issues. I put myself as a homegirl on purpose, because I just didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to deal with somebody trying to tell me who I was as a person. That required me to change. That required me to have to look on the inside of me and actually say, wow, is that really me? And swallow that hard pill. And shoot, I just learned how to swallow pills in my 30s, because I was chewing pills for most of my adult life. Okay, so who wants to swallow that pill? Who wants to do that? Nobody wants to do that when you think that you are fine and other people are saying, well, kind of, sort of, you're kind of not. And you're like, what? I used to be like that. Like, why are you always like that? What you mean, why am I always like that? What? Oh my God. You see how I got that head? What? I got that down pat, boo. Phoebe said, that's how you do it. And the weight that's lifted and the confidence behind it is awesome. Yes, because at the end of the day, you have to say what's on your mind. A lot of times, you know what people do? A lot of times they hold it in, right? They hold it in, and it keeps piling up, and it keeps piling up. It keeps piling up. And bitterness comes with that. Hate comes with that. Discontentment comes with that. There's so many different things that it's like a tree, okay? And you have all of these limbs and all of these branches that's coming out because you've been passive aggressive, because you didn't say anything, you let it pile up, and all of these things. And now it's like I feel justified with how I do things because I did this for so long. But no, you still have to do it in decency and in order. You still have to do it in respect, because you want to treat people the way you want to be treated. That's biblical, okay? So at the end of the day, when we're trying to drive our point across, It doesn't have to be with an attitude. You could just be matter of fact. And I'm a matter of fact type of person. I feel like if God is telling me to talk to somebody, or if I have something to say, I will say it. But I am very conscious of people's feelings until I'm not, because I am human. You know what I mean? If I'm trying to tell you something and you're not trying to receive it, and I know that it's for your good, and I know that God is telling me to tell you this, and you don't want to receive it, and you push past, and we start to arguing, then we're going to argue, because I'm still human too. You know what I mean? But ultimately, we can't beat up the messenger and forget the message. We can't beat up the messenger and forget that God is trying to heal us in certain areas in our lives through people, places, and things. And sometimes you don't even agree with the people that they send to you. I know I didn't. I know that the person who got my spirit right, I called her about maybe 2 months ago, because I left the church for about a good 6 months after she got me right. I swear she tore me from the rooter to the tutor, baby, and it broke me. I was like, who is she? She's talking about me? And yes, she was. She was. She attacked my character. She attacked what I thought I was, when I, in all actuality, didn't even reach that plateau yet. You know what I mean? And I was going off of the promises of God over my life. However, I ain't make it there yet, because there was still some pruning that had to be done. There still was some cutting away of my flesh, of my pride, of my ego, of my thought process of myself that needed to be done. And she was the pruner. And so I charged it to her instead of charging it to myself. I charged it like, oh, she's trying to come at me. Oh, she's jealous. Oh, she don't know what she's talking about. I said all of those things. Oh, she only said that because she talked to XYZ and she really don't know me, because if she thought that she knew me, then blase, blase, blah. I was so far from the truth. That was so far from the truth, because of the simple fact that she was pointing out defects in my armor, defects in my character that needed to be fixed. And I tried to shoot, annihilate, assassinate the messenger, when in all actuality, she was only doing what God told her to do. And that was to reveal to me who I was and what people saw from the outside. And although not all the time will people get it right, but they're not all the way wrong neither. And we have to take accountability for that as well. And I couldn't handle it. You can't handle the truth. Nope, Shannon could not handle that truth for the longest. But then I will always call her back. And just for a little while, just to say, you know, you're right. Guess what? You were right again. I don't mind giving people their props. I don't even mind telling them that the words that you said, it did hurt me, but I now know that that wasn't your intent, and that wasn't your motive. You had to prune me back so that I can grow. God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore, right? In the same way that he feeds the lilies, and he clothes the lilies and he feeds the ravens, and he does, it's all the same thing. Everything is about a reaping and a sowing. Everything is about growth with God. Okay. So if we, bees, everything has its place. The Bible even talk about, and me and Tifa was talking about that the other day. It was like, if you're not like the ant, okay, the ant is a hard worker. If you're not like the ant, so everything coincides, everything is connected. So just like we will cut the ends of our hair, which I was doing today, because we'll cut the ends of our hair, or we'll cut dead leaves off of trees or plants in our house so that it can continue to grow healthy. It's the same way that God does with our spirit. But we can't get mad at the pruner. We just cannot. There's no way that we can do that, you know? There's no way that we should even try to do that if we want to grow. Okay? So I'm sorry, I keep going off on a tangent, but I hope that this is good for you. Give me some hearts, please, if this information is good for you. Okay, so another characteristic for an emotionally immature person is that they don't own their mistakes. They what is the word? They project. They put it on another person. You ever heard somebody say, well, you did this. Well, this person did XYZ, so I nix that. Cut it. Because I know for me, all right, where I'm headed, God is only going to ask me about me. Then he's not going to ask them about, he's not going to ask you about them and why did they do it. You're accountable for your own soul salvation. So it's up to you to heal the hurt. It's up to you to find out how to heal the hurt. And if you don't have the mental capability to do it, then seek the help to help you find the help. Okay? Ask somebody, talk to somebody. All right? But don't stay the same. Okay? And then the last characteristic is you feel more alone than ever. You feel more alone than ever when you're emotionally immature. And that's because you feel like no one understands you. You feel like, you're the victim now, okay? You're the victim. Everybody has done everything to you. You have done nothing to anybody else but been a good person. That's been what I've been saying all my life. I've been good. I've been this. I've been that. But nothing changed until I decided to change my mindset, okay? And willing to accept that I don't have it all together and not ashamed to say it. You know, I'm really not ashamed to say that. I just put a post up the other day. It says, no, my ducks are not in a row. I don't even know what the ducks are. Because we can't fake the funk all our little lives. We got to get real sometimes, right? We got to get real sometimes. So Dee says she felt very light afterwards. And Phoebe said, yes, and it turns against you, your body and your mind, your peace is out the window. I'm not quite sure what you said that for, but I know you're right when you said it. I know when you're right. Okay. All right. So for relationships, okay, how we can identify that we're dealing with an emotionally immature mate, whether male or female, okay? Again, male, Peter Pan syndrome, or the Cinderella syndrome, okay? So how to tell your partner is emotionally immature. They struggle to talk to you about their feelings. It's like pulling teeth. It's like, well, how do you feel? Well, how did that make you feel? And there's no communication, and you're left thinking whatever you want to think because they won't effectively communicate to you. Number two, they avoid talking about the future. They don't want to talk about the future. Let's just talk about now. What's the future? I don't know if I'm gonna be with you. They won't even say that because they're passive aggressive. Okay, they won't even say what they really mean. They won't really say what they really want to say. Okay, because they haven't come to who they are to walk in confidence. And like you said, Phoebe, keep it real, right? Keep it real with the people, but say it with respect. No, I'm not rocking with you like that. I've changed and I'm no longer XYZ, however you want to say it. Or no, I don't see us going that far. And a lot of times, sometimes, now with that, when I just said, I don't see us going that far, sometimes people are scared to say that because they just don't want to hurt your feelings. That don't mean that they're emotionally immature. It just means that they care about your feelings. They don't want to hurt your feelings. So they'll kind of placate you a little bit so that you won't, so your feelings won't get overly hurt. They don't, I mean, there's a couple of people out there that care about how you feel. but but they still feel how they feel. You know what I mean? And they may not know how to say it in a way where y'all friendship can still be maintained. So mum's the word. We're just not going to talk about that. Anytime the future gets brought up, oh, is that a bird? Is that a plane? Oh, shoot, that's Superman. Like, change the subject quick, right? All right. They keep things on the surface level. Okay, you don't get any deeper than friends with benefits, or it doesn't, a commitment doesn't come out of it. It's fine to hang out, it's fine to go out on dates, but no commitment comes. There's no dating with a purpose there. Okay, and that's emotionally immature, especially if they don't want to, and they're scared to say it. Okay. Your partner can be emotionally immature if you feel lonely in the relationship. Now, that's like an oxymoron. If you are in a relationship, all right, and you feel lonely, I wish I had a belt. I'm going to get a belt today. Ring-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. You're not in a relationship, boo. If you feel lonely with the person that you're with, you're not with that person. And that's the truth. And that's a hard pill to swallow. But here's some water. Oh, I'm not promoting this brand, even though it's really good water. But here's your water. Drink some. Take that pill. Swallow it. I had to. And I understand it now. And I understand God's knows. I understand why he says no to me now. I understand why he said no for so many years. I understand it now. Because I know that my purpose on this earth is not, I only can see but so far. I can only see, but my God sits high and he looks low. So he can see things from a mile away. He hears things in rooms that you don't hear. He hears conversations that you don't hear. And so he'll put a no in a roadblock before you so that you cannot go further. And you think that this person is rejecting you when in all actuality, God said no. Because God knows where they're going and God knows where he's taking you. So keep that in mind too. Okay? They don't like to compromise. It's their way or the highway. If they don't like what you're doing and it's like, no, I said what I said, blah, 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 blah. They're emotionally immature and they're not ready for a commitment anyway, because everything in life takes compromise, even in business. When they're doing business deals, right? There's a compromise. There has to be a compromise, a middle ground, a happy medium that people will agree on when there's board meetings and stuff, where you have to take a vote. There has to be a compromise so that all things can be taken care of, right? They pull away in times of stress. OMG. When the stuff hits the fan and the person that you love so very much is not available, and they don't have time or they're not around, that's a sure sign that they're emotionally immature and they're not ready for what you're ready for. And we gotta take it, the good with the bad. They get defensive. They don't help out in the relationship, period. You do everything. They do nothing. I've been in numerous relationships like that, where it's like, oh, how you have a man. Now, back in the day, I used to live with my ex-boyfriend, right? God rest his soul. He's passed away. I used to live with my ex-boyfriend, and he was my man, right? You saw those two quotes? He was my man. But he did nothing in the house. He paid no bills. When it was time, when my back was against the wall and I needed help with bills or help with anything, he didn't help me. And he had it. He had it, but he was a man, y'all. He didn't help. He didn't say, Well, don't worry, baby. I got the 300. He's like, wow, what you gonna do about that? What? What am I gonna do about that? But you live in this house. I took you in when you didn't have anything. But now that I'm in need, you couldn't provide, you couldn't help. So you gotta watch out for those takers. They'll take, but won't give a lick. Emotional immaturity. Peter Pan syndrome. How do you think you're gonna live in somebody's house and you gonna pay them $50 a week? What's that paying? That's toilet tissue and laundry soap. That ain't nothing. But we accept those things because we want love so bad. But we have to raise up a standard against them, like God does against the enemy. Raise up a standard against them. Okay? All right, so what are examples of being immature? Not taking responsibility for your actions, needing to be the center of attention, not admitting you're wrong, irresponsible spending habits. I'm gonna stop there. I don't even think I'm delivered from that spirit right there, irresponsible spending habits. But I'm gonna deeply work on that because but I know my faults. I know what's wrong with me. I know what's wrong with me, and it's not gonna take away anything. It doesn't take away who I am as a person. To admit, it actually makes you stronger, and it gives other people insight on themselves when you're able to give insight about yourself. When you done the inner work and said, wow, oh, I was ugly. That was ugly. And I'm not proud of who I was. But I can tell you today that I'm different today. That could be your testimony. That could be what comes out of admitting these things. Okay, so Phoebe said, that's real. They're not sure they're even going to be with you. Right. They don't know. They don't know if they're going to be with you, so they're going to stay surface. They're going to look up in the sky. There's a bird. There's a plane. No, it's Mary J. Dion said, true, raise your standards and don't apologize for it. No, and you don't have to, what you apologizing for because you know your self-worth? What you apologizing for because you understand who you are as a person? It's like, I'm sorry. What was last season's, what was D? Put it at the bottom. Yesterday's prices is not today's prices. Or let me say it grammatically correct. Yesterday's prices are not today's prices. I am not the same that I was yesterday. So you cannot approach me the same as you did yesterday. I'm not going to allow you to treat me the way that you did yesterday or last month or last year or 3 years ago. You understand what I mean? It's okay for you to know who you are as a person and stand firm. And you can be just as sweet with it. No, darling, that's not me any longer. No, I know that that's the Shannon that you used to know, but that's not me anymore. Dang. And then you were like, dang, I was that bad? Jeez, thank you, Lord. I know that's me. Thank you, Lord, for changing me. Because I don't want to stay stuck. I want to grow to the fullest capacity of where he wants me to grow. And we keep stunting our growth. We sit here being a little bush next to the house where we can be on a beanstalk because we stopping our growth. Ain't no growing. We won't allow ourselves to be pruned. We won't. That's why our pastor is talking and teaching us about discipleship now. Because it's all right to be a Christian, but are you a disciple? Are you obedient? Do you hear? Do you hear the call to change? Do you hear the call to raise your standards, raise your vibrations, raise who you are as a person, to think a little higher, be a little higher, think of things above, things that are lovely. You know, are you that person, or are you stuck? Are you still stuck in the past, stuck in your trauma, stuck in your hurt? Then you have to allow the pruning to happen and not get offended when it's happening. But 9 times out of 10, you don't even know that you're in the pruning season and you're going to get offended anyway. But if you're ready for it, you can write in the comments, I'm ready to be pruned, Lord, and watch God start pruning you. And he's going to start revealing some things to you about yourself that you ain't going to like. But it's okay. Because when he's all done, when we're out of that process, boy, oh boy, how different you'll be viewed, how different you'll view yourself, and how differently you will view other people. All right. Being unaware of how you affect others. When you are immature, you don't even care how you affect others, how you make people feel. When you're immature, you just know it's about you, and I don't care. But we have to be mindful of how we treat people. You know, we have to be really mindful of how we treat people, because that brings a reaping and a sowing too. And I know that us Christians, we don't say karma, but I say karma now. You want to know why? Because I realize that she's real. You get your karma. You reap what you sow. It's all of the same. It's the same thing. You know? And so you have to watch how you treat people, because you'll be going through something and you don't realize it's because of how you treated somebody. Because you don't know who they are in the spirit. You don't know how God regards them. That's just like Saul and David, right? Saul, God already took the kingdom from him and made David king. And at the time, you know, guess what? Saul was trying to kill David because he wanted his throne back, right? But David, he saw Saul and had an opportunity to kill him, right? And God said, touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. Now, from a human perspective, you're saying God took the kingdom from him. God does not hold him in high regard anymore, because he doesn't have what he used to have. Everything got snatched. So he's not to be respected. He's not to be this. He's not to be that. I could do whatever I want. No, he was still honored in the spirit of God. God said, touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. You don't take those things into your own hands. You don't. You bring karmic debt onto yourself. You bring a reaping and a sowing onto yourself. And boy, oh boy, it's not going to be pretty when you touch God's people and you don't know who you're dealing with. Okay, that was just a side note. That was just a side note, y'all. Whoever picked up what I was putting down, I hope you got it. I said being unaware of how you affect others, name calling of others, enjoy aggravating others. Yeah, that's me. I enjoy aggravating people. I do, but I really just try to make people laugh, to be quite honest. I really do. Phoebe says, as a giver, we must be intentional about setting boundaries. Right. And healthy boundaries, I learned that in 2020. Healthy boundaries are good. Okay. I know this past, I think the end of February, I do my daily bread word of the day, right? Which will be returning next week. But I did my daily bread word of the day. And the word that he gave me that day was solitude, right? And I didn't understand why he gave me solitude. I was like, solitude. But then right after he gave me solitude, I went into solitude. I stopped talking to everybody. And it wasn't intentional. It wasn't like it was something that I strive to do. No, God said, separate yourself, you know? And in that time of my solitude, I went on a fast because some things come by fasting and praying. And guess what happened after that? In my solitude, in my time of solitude, I pulled back from everybody, friends, family, everybody, right? I went into solitude. I didn't talk to nobody. I didn't say anything to anybody. And I went into prayer and fasting. And you know what happened? After I came out my fast, I stopped smoking cigarettes, guys. I've been smoking since I was 15, 16 years old. Okay? And I stopped smoking cigarettes. But we have to be able to hear things, all right? And I know this is so off tangent, but I hope that people are getting this, all right? Because when God is pruning you and he's trying to mature you and raise you up, sometimes you have to go into solitude. And maybe the people around you may not understand why you're doing what you're doing. But it's not for them to understand because it's your walk. But the outcome of that solitude was that I got rid of a 20-year, if not more. That's more than 20 years. I said I started at 15. I'm 45. How many? That's 30 years? Smoking cigarettes. And I no longer smoke cigarettes anymore because he called me into solitude. He told me to separate from everybody. And he told me to fast and pray. And it came from an unorthodox person who told me that it was time to pray and it was time to fast. Okay? It came so left field from a person that I didn't even anticipate saying these things to me or would even think that they would even say it. But because I was not looking at the messenger, I heard the message. And God gets all the glory for it because I heard the message. I did not judge the message off the messenger because the message, it was so unorthodox who told me to do this. I would have never thought that this person, I mean, when you're a street dude, you're a street dude. When you're a street person, you're a street person, right? But that doesn't mean that God can't speak through them. If he spoke through a donkey, he can speak through anybody. So we need to know and to mature enough to stop looking at the messenger and listen to the message. God is trying to get us to be whole. He wants us to be in health. What's that scripture? Be in health even as our soul prosper. He wants our soul to prosper. He wants us to be prosperous in all areas of our life. But if we knock down the person who's trying to get us to where God wants us to go, we'll never be able to reach our desired destination, which is his will. I can only say that's my desired destination. I don't know what your desired destination is, but my desired destination is to do the will of the Father and to walk in my purpose and my calling all my life. And that's been my goal for 22 years. Okay? So we have to stop looking at the messenger and start listening to the message. When we get out of our own way, God can work. And he did it for me. And now I smell cigarettes and they're disgusting. And I couldn't believe that I was trying to use flowery perfume to cover up such a stinky smell. And then someone at church said, see, and we be trying to cover up stuff for God. It stinks to God. It's a stench in his nostrils. And we try to cover it up with pretty flowers and pretty perfume. And he says, that's crap. And now it's flowery crap. And it didn't change what it was. It just augmented the smell, if that's the right word. So D says, keep pruning me, God. That's right. Everybody who's on, put that down in the comments. Keep pruning me. Keep pruning me. We won't ever be able to change if we don't get pruned. And we need to grow up. It's time to cut back all the stuff. Cut it off. It'll grow back, and it'll grow back healthier. Do the work. It's worth it. Yes, it'll hurt. Yes, you'll probably cry. But your tears will turn into dancing. I remember years ago, I had I called him my spiritual advisor. He was a minister at a church that I went to. And I remember I was going through one of my hardest seasons. Well, I thought that it was my hardest season, but God didn't show me that I had more hard seasons that followed that one. But that was a monumental hard season. And one of the things that he said to me was that God, and it's all biblical, he said, God is going to turn my ashes into beauty. It's going to change my confession. It's going to change my life. And I believed him. I believed him. So y'all got to believe that God is going to change y'all. We need to grow up. We need to grow up. Okay? Oh, and this says another sign for someone that's immature is oversharing on social media. When you overshare, give too much information, want to out people, want to make them look or seem bad, it's immature. It's immature. And although we think that we're throwing subs and that, or that nobody really sees us and what we're doing, God does, because God sees the intent of our heart and he'll handle us accordingly. Okay, so D says, my time of the most growth is when I am alone. Yes, God does a lot of things when we're alone, because when we're in a group setting, that's distraction. It's just total distraction. Okay. All right. So let's get it, because we're over our hour. Thank y'all so much for being on here. Okay. So D says, congratulations. That's huge. It is. It is. And I love the way I smell now. Phoebe said, yes. D said, that's how I feel about my weight loss. Exactly. Phoebe said, congratulations. Giving up cigarettes is huge. It is not an easy feat. And it's not. It really isn't. It really isn't. Cigarettes, cigarette addiction is along the lines of heroin. When you and guess what? When I fasted and I prayed and he took the cigarettes from me, I didn't even have any withdrawal symptoms because I fasted for it. I fasted for it. Message, okay, when you have a weakness or habit and you finally figure it out, get delivered, you want to talk about God's goodness in that area to everyone. Yes, yes, you do. You do. But I also think as well that even when God has delivered you, or when God is doing a work on the inside of you and it's not complete yet, you don't talk about it, because that's how the fowls of the air and the people that, the wickedness in high places can come and just pluck that thing from you because you talked about it prematurely. You understand what I mean? And then the enemy keeps making us look like a fool because we keep talking about stuff that we shouldn't be talking about until it is done. Jesus didn't say it is done prematurely. He said it was done when it was done. No one knew that I quit smoking cigarettes until I was at least a week or two in. I think a week, to be quite honest. But I didn't tell anybody because I wanted to make sure that it happened and that I'm not going to go back, because I will not be made a fool by the enemy ever, never again. Ever, never again. And God said what is done in secret, he will reward it in the open. So we got to stand on God's word. He knows why he said that, because he knows that we wrestle not with flesh and blood. I won't talk about it. I've learned my lesson. Did I used to? Yes. I wanted everybody to know. But I will always talk about it prematurely. And I would prematurely deliver my baby that wouldn't live because I talked too soon. Mum's the word. Phoebe says, that's right, because God can and will use whomever he must to bring a word. And he does. And he does. He does. She said the Holy Ghost will interrupt that action too. And she said, won't he? Congratulations to you, Dion. It feels amazing. She said, yes, ma'am. We move too quickly sometimes. And we do. We do. We have to be mindful because there's divine timing in everything. God's timing is divine, and he knows the time frame in which he wants to give it to us, just like the children of Israel. 11 days took 40 years. He knew. He knows. He's walked out our steps. But we have to know for a fact that it's certain things that we have to hold back. If we don't, it will be plucked away. You understand what I mean? It will be plucked away. And then where's the manifestation? Our pastor's talking about that too. There's no manifestation. We get too gung-ho, we get too happy, and then we miss the mark again. I'm not missing the mark anymore. I'm happy I don't stink. I now know that I was stinky. And, I'm mad that I walked this so many years and I thought I was hot and stuff. I was like, oh my goodness, Jesus, I know these church people was like, this stinky, smoky girl. But anyway, so D says, when he shows you a principle, it is done. Whether I do it or not, it's not about what is happening with me per se, but the way to get it done is revealed. Right. Just like some things come by fasting and praying. But there's a principle with what you do in secret will be honored in the open. It's a principle too. It is. He wouldn't tell us to write stuff down. Write it upon the tablet. So when men come read, they run from it. Though it tarry, wait for it. It will come. It shall not tarry. Write the vision, make it plain. Vision don't happen overnight. But you're not going to tell people your vision for them to steal it. You're going to wait for it to happen and then tell. This is just the lessons that I've learned. I ain't telling y'all nothing until it is complete. It is done. Now, y'all can know. But that's just my spiritual growth. That's just where I am now. Because I know that I wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with principality and wickedness in high places. And there will no longer be any thieves. Those are both out of context as far as what? It's not. It's a principle. When you hold on to your stuff, again, yeah, you got a principle, but if you don't work the principle, that's just like what Pastor was talking about tithing. And I got beat on that. You understand what I mean? I felt that because I have never been. So that could be why my fundage was messed up. You understand what I mean? But he can show you a principle, but if you don't complete it to the end, and I'm just telling you, there's wickedness in high places, and people don't want you to succeed. You gotta be aware of that. You just gotta be aware of it, and it's a hard pill to swallow. Here's some water. All right, guys, I love y'all so much. T for T, I called you. You didn't answer. This was a good show. It was a good show. It really was a good show. But I hope that you guys thought it was a good show. Please heart it up for me if y'all believe that it was a good show. I do have more things. Immature personality disorder. There's a disorder for that as well. Diagnosis characterized by lack of emotional development, low tolerance of stress and anxiety, inability to accept personal responsibility, and reliance on age-inappropriate defense mechanism. The disorder has been gaining prominence in the 21st century. So just know Remember that some people it may not just be something that is easily fixed. It can be IPD, immature personality disorder, low tolerance of stress and anxiety, inability to accept personal responsibility, and a reliance on age inappropriate defense mechanisms. That means you begin to become petty. Okay? So IPD. We don't know if that's so. We don't know if we have those. That's we need to go to the doctor and see what that is, what that is all about. So until we meet again, emotional detachment may be a temporary reaction to a stressful situation or chronic condition such as depersonalization, derealization disorder. It may also be caused by certain antidepressants. Emotional blunting as reduced effect display, blah, blah, blah. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Till we meet again, same bat station, same bat time. Next week is going to be really, really deep. I was going to do something, but look out for the commercial because I will let you know what's going on. Hopefully, Phoebe, I hope that you could come and join in on that conversation because I think that you'll have some really good insight on next week's show. Till we meet again, guys, same bat station, same bat time. Love you to life. Have a great, great, great evening and see you next week. Bye. I love you too, Phoebe. We love you too. Have a good night, guys.
Welcome, everyone. We want to thank you for taking some time out of your day to be with us. Come on, let's get to the root of it.
In these times that we live, we take strides to move forward. We strive to be more, stay strong and be focused. Start a while, we make choices, live or die. Take over starts at the root, and the truth may be hard to swallow.